Hello and welcome to my series of conversations with men and women whose ideas, vision and philosophy define our contemporary world. My guest today is one of India's most exciting young theatre directors, a graduate of the National School of Drama. He has worked and performed in the capitals of the world, particularly in Europe, Japan, and has, in a sense, broken new ground, bringing traditional elements of theatre and providing them with a new vocabulary. I'm delighted to welcome Roysten Abel. Roysten, you have a sort of, your recent work has a relatively unique approach to theatre in the sense that you work with groups ranging from street performers to college girls, and you interactively evolve scripts based on their experiences and who they are and where they're coming from, that seems to move beyond sort of the rhetoric, beyond the mere exchange of words, to their own felt experiences. How do you understand and see the role and function of the theatre? And I preface this in some ways. I should have prefaced this by saying that as following the National School of Drama, you worked a great deal with Shakespeare. You called your company the Shakespeare Company, and were very much in that classical tradition, and you have evolved to something like this.
To start with, the only playwright one actually got fascinated by was Shakespeare. Was never happy with many Indian playwrights. So the work which we started to do, which was evolving plays, actually started because there was a paucity of good plays. And then as one started evolving these plays, what one realized was there was a play in every person and in every situation. And it was interesting to juxtapose both. For instance, if you take the rhetoric, if you take the classic, and put it against a contemporary scenario, which is with the actors or the performers' day-to-day scenario, I kind of realized in the process of doing so that the rhetoric gets communicated even more stronger to the audience. So there was this phase where one had a classic, and it's easier for the actor, therefore, to get into a play because he has the support of the classic. And then the classic gets conveyed through the actor because he has the support of the contemporary
Okay, let me take you back a step behind. Tell me, what is it that, you went to the National School of Drama, you've described your experience at the National School of Drama as being extremely enriching at one level, but more because, faculty weren't very good and it provided you the context for learning in your evolution. What is it that excites you about theatre? Why do you do theatre?
I think theatre is a fantastic medium for self-evolution. Having said that, the world is a stage, and we are all players. The good thing is, and the lucky part for a theatre person is that he gets to do the play within the play, and thereby recreating life and recreating plays within where he experiences all those facets without actually going through them, which is equally detached and equally invigorating. It uplifts you, but you are in it and you're not in it. So that is why I do theatre, because I don't do theatre just to evolve performances. It's one thing to get a good performance. I think it's very easy to get good performances out, and with all my modesty. But theatre has another fantastic purpose, which is to experience the whole gamut of situations and emotions in a 20 by 40 space in a very short span of time.
So you use this phrase of evolution, learning, that you experience through theatre. So in what ways does that personal journey parallel the gratifications that you must seek and must need from audiences, from the fact of performance. The process is exciting, and this sort of has resonances to what we were talking about earlier, that you evolve plays, and if you evolve themselves, they're obviously a much sort of closer, more intimate experience than working with a classic. But what is this relationship between that personal process of discovery, form and structure of a play, and then the audience? I mean, ultimately it's the audience that completes the process.
See, the performance structure of the play already exists
in life.
In life, what the artist has to do, as a theatre person, what I try to do before I go into a rehearsal space is to make myself as open as I can to receive what is there in that space, because every space has a story to tell. Every actor has a story to tell.
Tell us this space. Obviously, when you perform in different places, you're not just talking about the physical space of the performance.
Yeah.
So, what is the space that you're referring
to?
See,
the space which are created by the actors, by the director, the various emotions that they bring in with with themselves, the empty spaces which are there, which are sometimes filled with something else, which are there to be seen. So when all these things are seen, if you can leave yourself to see these things, you can see it for yourself, and you can see it for the audience, you can see it for the play. So in totality, I personally believe that a play is there, you have to see it. So all you need to do is to, you have to make your tool, ready enough for perception.
Well, you use the phrase empty space. That's sort of the title of a book by Peter Brook. Peter Brook used the phrase dead theatre a great deal, and that how it was that we would just sort of go and rhetorically mouth words that had been written, and they were familiar words, and so we would listen to them, and there would be our internal resonances.
Yeah, that's what,
and the actor was just sort of very a mechanical medium, and not really sort of embodying the nuances of what have you. And so a lot of work was done with Shakespeare initially, of interpreting Shakespeare and locating Shakespeare in different contexts and external circumstances and environments to try and make it more interesting. You did a film, based, sort of evolved from a play that you did, Othello. Tell us about that.
This contextualizing Shakespeare is a very interesting phenomenon, because many people have tried to do that, and it's somewhere a very cerebral exercise. Whether you put Merchant of Venice in a stock exchange, or you put Coriolanus in put them in. So with Othello, it was again because we had done the play was very successful. So we said, and initially I conceived this whole idea for a film. I was very inspired by Carlos Saura's Carmen. So that's why I wanted to do this. And so I wanted to write a film script on it. And obviously at that point nobody had the money for it. And luckily Stephen Burkoff was coming into India, and the British Council wanted a production which would be like a parallel production to Burkoff's Shakespeare's Villains. And they luckily commissioned me to do a play. And I said, okay, and if I have to do a play, this is what I'll do. And they agreed to it. Became successful. And then after we toured the world with it, we thought that it would be a good idea to make it into a film. Having said that, we made it into a film.
Well, look, this is a very interesting strand, and we have to take a break. We'll come right back to that in a moment. Don't go away. You're watching a conversation with a well-known, bright young theatre director and activist, Roysten Abel. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to a continuing conversation with Roysten Abel. We were talking about Othello, the British Council sponsoring you, and well, tell us, in what ways did you, I was going to say reinterpret, but I mean, let's just say draw upon the essential storyline of Othello and take it further, and what value were you adding to Shakespeare's Othello?
I don't think we were, we are capable of adding any value to it. I thought that, anyway, if we could get him closer to an audience, was the way we set it. It was set.
Well, our audience, our viewers haven't seen the film, so tell us Very briefly. As to how
It was set within a theatre company where there was an actor from rural India, you know, from one of the rural parts of Assam, from Walpara, who comes into an English-speaking theatre company as a trainer. And when a director comes in and, you know, does a very typical stereotype casting to make him into Othello, an actor who cannot speak English, and what happens when these hierarchies are upset, and especially when he gets the girl, when he gets, you know, the lady is playing Desdemona, and how actors, you know, within the company manipulate the rehearsal process very similarly to the plot which Iago creates. So this is what was happening side by side, and so that's what happened in the film, and that's what happened in the play. With the film, we managed to play with the matrix of Desdemona, where Desdemona was doing many layers than just the, you know, the wife of Othello. But then the shift between reality and illusion, because I always believe that illusion is more real than so-called perceived reality, and I love playing with this whole thing, because we believe a certain reality to be an illusion, whereas and the only fact that illusion is real is because you believe that it is illusion that you're creating, and when you actually get into the depths of it, you somewhere, you know, as normal human beings, we manage to lose it here and there, and that's what's interesting.
You'd mentioned sort of, you know, the paucity of writing in available to Indian directors, Indian sort of performers. Why do you think that is so? Why do you think that in terms of the intellectual rigor, you know, despite this sort of great ancient civilization that we have, that we're unable to create that kind of material? It's not just in theatre. I mean, you know, sitting here we celebrate, you know, the Salman Rushdies and the Vikram Seths and what have you. But on the global stage, we really don't have a presence in the arts, whether it's, you know, film, theatre, writing, or what have you, just sort of the occasional things on the periphery. Is there something about our sensibilities in India that, you know, don't lend themselves to that kind of expression? You know, you've performed, you know, all over the world, you have developed plays in the manner that you do in India with groups internationally. Is there a difference? What is the difference?
I think, I could be wrong, but with plays and films, we always try and, you know, play like the second cousin to Europe or America. And thereby doing that, we are not in the process of innovating new stuff that we believe in. As far as the theatre scene in India is concerned, these are bad replicas of even, you know, poorer replicas of what things were at that point, either from Europe or 60s India. And if it's drama, if it's Indian drama, it's like people are just they just keep doing it for no rhyme.
We keep doing the same plays, and we're going back and sort of translating the old classics. I mean, in a sense, you know, there is value to that, but surely there is a need to go beyond, you know, history and posterity and sort of ancient writing to something that's vibrant and current.
To actually bring those ancient writings to life, you need to go beyond and then travel backwards.
So in this sort of larger, you know, climate of globalization, of capitalism, where, you know, everything is utilitarian and has value, and people are investing in art because it's an investment. It isn't in response to art. It's because you can one day sell that for more money. What would you recommend as the value of art, of the artistic process? Why should the community, you know, invest in theatre? What is the value?
I'll tell you why. Because there was this friend of Dilip, is a friend of mine, and he was doing a show once. And I knew that for that show, he wouldn't get more than 20 people to see it. It was a 400-seater auditorium, and he was cleaning every seat. So I went up to him and I asked him, Dilip, why are you cleaning all these chairs? Are you expecting a lot of people? He said, no, we don't do the plays just for people. You do a piece of art for the universe, and thereby you send fantastic things into the universe, which affects many more people than just the people who are there to just witness the show. So an artist is actually thereby evolving himself and making him grow, but that is his real focus. Real focus is to contributing to the evolution of the universe, to the fantastic good energies of the universe. And he needs to, and that is why we do it, and there is immense joy in it. Now, whether if people, money will come in if that money is needed for that, but there is that joy is that you're doing it for a larger cause than just 100 or 200 or 2,000 people who are sitting there.
You're watching a conversation with Roysten Abel. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to a continuing conversation with the theatre director and playwright, Roysten Abel. Would it be fair to describe you as a playwright?
No. I'll tell you why. Because I don't write my plays. And I don't direct my plays either. The fact is, it is always an ensemble activity, and I really mean it in the truest sense, because I cannot give myself credit for any line. In a whole play, there might be 4 or 5 lines of mine, but the rest of them are all created by actors. And even situations, they fall into place. I try and cushion them and prune them and, just make them comfortable in that thing. It's the same with directing them. I really don't, I create a situation where they can be at home and where they can relax and perform and respond.
So how does then, the play evolve when you look at it in performance? It has most of the elements of classical theatre: beginning, middle, end, conflict, resolution of conflict, cause of conflict. Those elements are there. How do they fall into place? So they just sort of...
Rajiv, this might sound esoteric, but the fact is, it's there at the back of my mind. I know when I'm doing a rehearsal, I know this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. I know it's at the back of my head because you have learned, structured drama. The process of creativity in creating a play like this is so real that it's a very spiritual process.
So are there moments of fear, like in a spiritual process, if you're going in for performance or for whatever, that you've started this process, you don't have a given script by somebody else who you can hold responsible, good, bad, or indifferent. What if it doesn't work out?
That's one thing you don't have. You should never have. Because the moment you operate from fear, you're just going to block yourself. The very fact, the one thing that I tell myself is that after all, you're doing a play within a play. So it's not that serious. So you just go there and have fun. And when you have fun, one thing is you let loose of your inhibitions. And the moment you let loose of your inhibitions, everything starts functioning. And the seeing gets clearer and things starts happening.
What about the day of the performance? The first performance? Is there any sort of...
There is like a nervousness kind of a thing because you've done it all. Now you're performing it in front of an audience. And it's like, but how is this going to happen? But I think it's so necessary to have that. So I tell my actors, the moment you don't have this, because it's tentativeness, it's not fear. It's that tentativeness. It's that the moment you lose this tentativeness, you should quit the stage.
We have these sort of images from movies and things of people just sort of waiting for the review the next morning and catching the early morning edition of the newspapers. But surely it happens before that. And when do you know the play has worked?
It works, this working business, it works for you in certain places. And it works when the cast is really happening amongst themselves.
So it's happening amongst themselves, it's happening for you, but is it possible it doesn't happen for the audience?
No. If it happens for them and if it happens for me, it happens for them for sure, for the audience for sure. But if it doesn't happen for them and if it doesn't happen for me, it still might happen for the audience. That's where it happened. That's what is scary. And sometimes it doesn't happen for me, it happens for them and it happens for the audience.
What about the critic? How seriously do you take
No, I don't
critic?
take both. I really work hard to not be affected by the wonderful praises that people write about the play and thereby not get affected by what they write, because I know it when it happens. But sometimes when people have more insights to tell you, and even if it's like a scathing review, I take them very I can see the light in it. So I don't get emotionally disturbed, thank God, with those things anymore.
Do you fear that, or do you have a sense of where you might go to from here in terms of that, in terms of the basic shift you have made already in your approach to theatre? You've dabbled a little bit in film. Might it be in the direction of film? Might it be somewhere else? Do you feel still a yearning or a longing to push another boundary wall and move somewhere else?
See, I think we all push boundaries within the, within the art in which we are involved, whether it's theatre, whether it's film, whatever. So that way, no. And the good thing is I really don't know where I'm going to go 1 year hence or 6 months from now. And I like that uncertainty of not knowing what I'm going to be doing and where I'm going to be going or how I'm going to, because I didn't even plan this thing for myself.
But is there a dissatisfaction or something still to be completed in where you are at?
I don't think there is anything to be accomplished. Because it's a wonderful journey, and I'm having a great time on the road so far. And I think if I set things for myself, I'll miss out on the
present.
stuff. Yeah. So I don't want to do it, And I'm having a ball of a time doing the stuff I'm doing just now. So why should I? What makes me think that I will have a better thing? Because it's very ephemeral. It's like theatre, Everything is ephemeral. And I'm trying to create something which is non-existent. But I am having a great time just enjoying what I'm doing so much. So I just better enjoy doing this,
You recently did a play with sort of, the alumni and students of Lady Shriram College. You done this thing sort of with street performers. You worked on, the diary of Annie Frank and aspects of that. You've looked at Othello. You've looked at so many different stories and ranges of experience, very diverse. What is it of yourself that you bring to that is a common strand, perhaps? And I see your role so wonderfully as a catalyst to enable these varied groups to be themselves and articulate themselves and express themselves, and I think that's what makes you such an exciting director. But what is it of yourself? Each of us have a seeking and an answer that we seek. It's where's the human suffering? Is there a God, or whatever the elements are? And in the sort of in the journeys that we take, and in different groups and contexts that we work, we sort of inevitably try and seek those answers. Is there one or two or three or a sense of what that seeking is?
The seeking is, like I say, the seeking is only to be a channel. Because as a director, mainly, I see my role only as a, as
what about Roysten Abel, human being? You're not always a director.
No, but as a, and as a human being, you need to be that open channel always. It's the same thing.
When you're an open channel and you go through these experiences, there are some things that might stay, which become common strands to Roysten Abel, the human being, as opposed to the director.
I guess
or are they so intimately fused that you're always
No, no,
looking
it's
all over the
my
stage
work.
and sort of you're always,
No, it's not like that. I work towards it all the time, even in life and on stage, to just let things happen. That's my work. Whether it's on stage, whether if I'm sitting here, I hope that, I am this channel which says things which are meant to be said right now to you, and not any of my fundas which I should be speaking to you. So I just pray that, that just happen as we speak. And that's what I try and practice in life, and thereby I will find a way to realization at some point, or in, maybe after 10 lives, or 100 lives, or 200 lives. But I know I'm on the road.
So you believe in reincarnation at least?
Yes, I do.
So this process, this journey, is it circumscribed by a faith, an ideology, practice? Can it be completely sort of neutral and just flow?
Yeah, it's not rooted within one faith, or it's just that the influences one has had with various people, various teachings, and all masters say the same thing. There are many, like Ramakrishna says, there are as many paths, and there are as many ways. So there are so many ways of going about it, and each road, is equally interesting and equally diverse. And
is there one that you're holding on to now?
No, if I can grab my hand on anything to do with Islam or Sufism or Buddhism or Hinduism or Christianity
or theatre,
anything. Grotowski is more yogic than many yogis would. He calls the Kundalini energy the silent reptile. So how theatre has so much connection to it. When he talks about Grotowski talks about going to the roots. What is it that you're going into the roots? It's actually going back to the soul. There's so much that theatre actually does. Theatre is a religion. It's a faith in another way. It's the most democratic faith, maybe.
Oh, that's such a shame you raised this towards the end of the program. I'd love to have talked a lot more about this. It interests me too. Thank you very much, and here's celebrating your wonderful journey.
Thank you.
Good luck.